bit dark today, so I need to put on my lights. Number 1, and number 2 wasn't plugged in, so I shall plug that in as well. Oops. More light on the subject, and you'll see that my daffodils here have died. Well, if you're polite, you might say they've died, and I'm just trying to work out whether I could squeeze another few days out of them by pulling off all the dead petals and changing the form, the appearance of the daffodil, just for a bit of fun really, and it can be quite, you know, soothing to strip everything back and have a, you know, reshape. So I'm peeling off the papery cover that would have covered the bud, and you can see how much that's grown, and then gently but firmly pulling off. Oops, that was a bit squidgy. The first one I did wasn't very squidgy, but just changing the shape. Perhaps I should cut that off. And that one's just fallen off naturally, but again, just to strip everything back. So quite curious to know what you think about this, whether it's something you'd want to do or whether it looks like a total waste of time. You can see there when the flower head was, the petals are really dead, they were pulling off really, really easily. But I thought just for a bit of fun really, because we have our flowers, and I must admit I have mine in the house for far too long because I never quite get around to clearing them away, and I sort of have several vases of flowers and they're slowly dying, and then I thought get rid of them all in one go. That's too squidgy, that's not going to work. But just snipping off the dead heads, pulling off the papery. And it looks, the reason I decided to try this out was because they don't look that dissimilar to the original buds. Those are never opened, those ones. They're just a bit of bright fleshy green. So I'm going to get rid of all the stems that didn't open. There were quite a few actually. I had 3 bunches in here originally, and then just revamp what's left for another time. And that's not dead enough either, it's too moist and squidgy. That's too moist and squidgy. That one's just dead and the seed head's gone a bit yellow, so I do have my limitations. I don't put everything back in my vase. Too squidgy, not opened. This one looks like a good one. It just comes off in one go. I'm peeling off that papery head. Is this bit I'm peeling off, the where the flower bud would have opened. Is that sort of protective layer. And again, that's going to be too squidgy. It's too fresh looking, but it's gone over, but isn't quite over enough to be able to revamp. So it's quite nice really. You buy the daffodils in bud, enjoy them as they open out, and then, you know, when they've given up the ghost and they've died, you're still able to enjoy them. And I like the fact that the shape's changed. It's the seed head that's developing. So if you've got your daffodils out in the garden, normally you would deadhead them when they've gone over to stop the seed developing, so that the bulb put its energy, the flower put its energy back into the bulb, so it would grow healthy daffodils next year. That's too squidgy. That's probably okay, that one. Those are too, you know, gone over, but they're too fresh to do this job too. Next one. These ones never opened. And down to the last few now, so that will just tear off. I suppose I'm twisting it off rather than just randomly tearing. That one, it's gone too far over, the stem's gone pale yellow. That one's too fresh but dead, and that one didn't open. And at the bottom, I've got some manky looking water. Doesn't look great, so tip that away. And then what I would do is, if you wanted to keep these in your vase again, so I think they look quite attractive there, look quite unusual. You could tell your friends that you've discovered a new flower. And what I will do is that they do look quite disgusting at the other end, so I will trim them off so at least it comes back to the more of the fresh green look. There's still some that aren't looking great. And then with some fresh water that I've got, I would then refill my jar. Now if I was doing this for real, I'd swish the jar out under the tap in the kitchen just to have them in there. And you've got them, you know, just as a talking point. Almost looks like a lots of pencils in a pot. And if you had loads of those, you could put them back into your bigger container, but they do look a tiny bit lost in there, so I don't think I'll do that. I think I'd be more inclined just to have them on the kitchen windowsill really informally and just be able to enjoy those for another few days. But I do have fresh flowers as well. You might remember that I posted in the group that I had been to Edinburgh at the weekend and I bought some flowers from a beautiful florist, but I paid £6.95 for 10 stems of daffodils. And I met my friend Jan, who's in the group, yesterday, and she's picked me these daffodils from the garden. So Jan had a really good tip, and she said that she picks the ones that are falling over onto the lawn. So I guess when she's mowing the lawn, or it's the ones that have already were going to get damaged by the lawnmower, or it just means the rest of her beds stay nice and neat. So she's wrapped them up in a bit of raffia, which I shall save. So when I save my raffia, because it's in lots of strands, I usually bundle it up like that and do a knot in the middle, and I can put that in the drawer. And then when I'm gifting flowers informally to a friend, I could reuse that. And tissue paper as well. Oh, and she's even put an elastic band on there, so aren't they great? Lovely homegrown flowers. So these have been out of water overnight, but your daffodils will survive out of water for a while. You know, they're sold dry at the supermarket and at your local street market. So I'll recut the stems there, take off the elastic band, and then I have got a single vase there, and I have put some water in the bottom. If you watched my decluttering video, this is one of the vases that I bought from the Eden project many years ago, and kind of quite like it because it's really tall, so my flowers will just sit, the stems are being supported, they're not splaying out in the same way that they do in a shorter vase. And what I could do is display them together. And actually, as I put those together, I really like these seed heads that are developing because they replicate the look of the seed heads on my vase there as well. So curious to know whether you'd be prepared to strip down your daffodils to change the look of them so that you get even more enjoyment out of them. Now, I think I probably have these daffodils now for 2.5 weeks, so that's not bad. I spent £3, pound a bunch. I know a lot of them didn't open, but I've enjoyed those for 2.5 weeks, which isn't bad at all. So I'll say goodbye and I'll see you another time.